unseen, where shadows play. Tune in, let's drift away.
Midnight whispers on the airwaves, ghostly echoes from hidden graves. Tune your mind to the spectral sounds where Bigfoot roams and the mystery abounds. Chasing lights in the midnight sky, UFOs land and watch them fly. Paranormal truths wrapped in disguise, where the seekers no need to be shy. Take a ride with us into the unknown. Midnight frequency radio, where wild tales are grown. Aliens calling, hear the echo of the past. Time travel dreams, moving forward and fast.
From the Ozark foothills of Northeast Arkansas, I'm Carl Richardson, and this is Midnight Frequency Radio. Our guest tonight is Dr. Richard Boylan. Dr. Boylan is a Ph.D., behavioral scientist, anthropologist, university associate professor, certified clinical hypnotherapist, consultant, and researcher. Dr. Boylan is a consultant to the Star Kids and Star Seeds, seeking to understand their origin, identity, and mission so as to attain optimal awareness and clarity of identity, inner growth, spiritual development, and future path. Dr. Boylan's career has spanned 4 decades of service as a psychologist, social worker, hypnotherapist, clergy, educator, and space anthropologist. Dr. Boylan has served as a lecturer at the California State University in Sacramento, University of California, Davis, and several other universities since 1989. Dr. Boylan has conducted research into human encounters with star visitors. This led to his current focus, creation of the Star Kids Project, and working with these hybrid children with advanced abilities and their families. Good evening, Dr. Boylan, and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Carl. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, sir. Good. I guess where a good place to start would be let you give some information on the Star Seeds and the Star Kids.
Okay, this is something that is one of those things that's all around us, but not spoken of a lot. It's part of it's kind of a junior division of the UFO cover-up, which is why you don't hear about UFOs in mainstream media much, and even less about Star Kids and Star Seeds. So Star Kids and Star Seeds. Let me start when this phenomenon really started to show up. There have been practically a century occasional star seeds among the general human population, but it was only in the late 70s, 80s, 90s that Star Seeds and Star Kids started to become very numerous in the population, meaning there were so many of them that people kind of noticed there was something going on. So let me start by defining what a Star Kid is and a Star Seed adult is. A Star Kid is a kid who's got genes of both human genes and genes of a star person. The combination makes for a very exceptional individual. They don't look different than the other humans around them, but they have additional abilities. They are what we might say psychic. They tend to grow up faster. They are smarter on the whole, and they are very sensitive in the sense of psychic. Intuition is one of their strong points. They are connected to everything around them at an energetic level. Star Seeds is a term I use for adult humans who are a combination of human genes and star person genes. How did this happen? How did certain humans start to have partial extraterrestrial genes in their formula, if you will? Well, this happened in great numbers when in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s, 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, there was a huge wave of people who had visitors from the stars during the night. They'd wake up in the middle of the night and there was somebody or some buddies standing in their bedroom, maybe at the foot of their bed. And these visitors were not from this world. And they, of course, were startled. And the visitors tried to reach out to them mentally, mental telepathy, if you will, to communicate. Their messages were generally along the line of, we're here, don't be afraid, we'd like to get to know you. And one of the things they wanted to accomplish during the visit was to upgrade that human. The star visitors have looked at our history. They have the ability to travel through time and see the future. And they saw that the human race was and is in great danger of annihilation by nuclear war. This war is entirely a human enterprise, humans bombing or otherwise nuking other humans. And they wanted to get ahead of it and prevent that from happening by visiting people early enough in human history so that they could turn that around and human race would not be erased. So they decided to upgrade people. What that means is that they decided to borrow a little bit of their genetic material and using genetic engineering, place it inside the genes of the human they visited so that their genetic makeup was a combination of human and star person. The result of that is that the humans still look perfectly human, but they were smarter, more aware, more psychically tuned up, and they intuitively knew things that normal humans didn't. So this is all to prepare a number of humans for the enterprise of becoming leadership within human society and trying to steer their fellow humans away from nuclear war and towards peace and understanding that we're not alone, that there are other people in the universe. Some of them come here to visit us, that they're peaceable and friendly, and that we need to conduct ourselves in a way that we are ready to accept visits from them and to learn about the larger universe that we are a part of. So that is why there were so many visits trying to get enough star seeds and adults and star kids that there would be a aware and active number of humans ready to support a better way for society to conduct itself, to avoid war as a solution, and to try to live an elevated lifestyle, what we might call the golden rule. It have various properties or characteristics about them that stand out. And I could go through the list, but let me stop for a minute here. You were going to say something.
They're probably taught a better moral direction than a lot of humans have, I would assume.
Yes, the societies that visit us are almost by definition farther ahead in development than human race is. They don't have wars anymore. They don't need that. They are much more peaceable. They have a natural spirituality. They are sensitively connected with nature and other living things around them and other societies that they visit in the galaxy. And they're just conducting themselves as members of a intelligent society of many races living peaceably together in the galaxy and conducting themselves in a what we would consider a very peaceable and advanced way. They're far ahead of us in science and technology, but also in the ability to get along with new races that come along and practice what we might call the brotherhood of man, only in this case it's the brotherhood of other living intelligent life.
What are some of the characteristics that the star kids and the star seeds have that kind of set them apart?
Well, glad you asked that question. There's quite a number. Let me say, I'll start with star kids. One of the ways they came to my attention is I worked with a group of people who were talking about having been visited by star people at night. And they noticed that after a while, their kids were much more advanced than the child development classes said they should be. They were saying words by 6 months of age. They were walking by a year and a half, or I should say a half year old, whereas the regular age to walk is 1 year old. When they started speaking, they tended to use whole phrases, not just single words. They seemed more mature for their age, almost like a older child in a young child's body.
That kind of leaves me out because I still have trouble speaking, periods.
Huh. Well, not everybody of our generation is a starseed. This is a phenomenon more for the younger generations coming in, but they are very sensitive. They seem to get things without having to study as hard as other people do. They seem very sensitive psychically. They seem to pick up on things without it having been necessary to tell them it ahead of time. They avoid the kind of behavior that some kids get into. They're not destructive, mean, cruel, violent, or wasteful. They naturally conduct themselves sensitively, sensibly, and with kindness and consideration. Do you remember when the streetlights were amber sodium vapor plasma streetlights that went on at night with a kind of a flash?
Yes, sir, I do.
There are not so many anymore, at least around where I live. They've kind of replaced them with new technology, but one of the tip-offs for star kids was, or starseed adults, was they'd walk down the street past one of these sodium vapor plasma streetlights and the light would go out. They were puzzled and they said, "Oh my God, did I do something wrong? Why does this light suddenly go out when I got near it?" Well, it wasn't they did anything wrong. What the street light was reacting to is that these star kids have an energetic field around them that is much, much larger and reaches a lot farther out than the regular human energy field does. We all have energy fields around us. Regular humans have maybe an energy field around them that may go out a foot, foot and a half, maybe two, in all directions on all sides of them. But star kids have fields that go out much farther. It might go out 8 feet, 10 feet. I think one of the records, I was working in a workshop with some star seeds, and one guy's field was 30 feet out from his body. Well, these street lights, when the star seeds or star kids energy field goes by, it swamps the electricity that the street light depends on, and it goes out. It's like the star seeds energy field stronger than the energy field of the street light, so it turns off. But it's not ruined. When the star seed walks on and maybe gets down the block a ways, often enough the street light will come back on. It just got momentarily overwhelmed by the energy field of the star seed. So that's a physical sign of what is going on with these kids. their intelligence and their whole body energy and their whole body energy field is amped up a lot more than the old-fashioned regular humans is. Sometimes they affect electrical appliances, like a kid will walk in front of a TV set and the TV set starts to get fuzzy and the picture gets distorted. And the kid might worry, gee, did I just break the TV set? Or their parent might say, stop that, Johnny, you're wrecking the TV, step away. And they do that, then everything is good again. But, they just have to mind their manners with this amped up energy field they have as a star person, or a half star person, shall we say.
Are there star nations?
Yes, there are. We are not alone, as they're starting to admit at NASA and a few other places. Not only are we not alone, but we have lots of company. There's the official stuff that NASA and some of the space scientists will say, and then there's the real stuff, which those of us who work with extraterrestrial civilizations know is the facts of life of the galaxy. Even NASA is starting to admit that we've been visited, that these people come here, maybe talk, and then go away, and that there are various civilizations. They put it in terms of they've discovered all these many, many billions of planets that have all the conditions for life and for human type life on them. In other words, not just bacteria, but animals and human intelligent mammals, if you will, flesh and blood beings. And with the billions of planets that are perfectly suited for large animal and human-like life, it would be extraordinary if there wasn't such life on them. And in fact, there is. And while we can say just the odds are with so many inhabited planets that we have been visited, so we don't have to guess whether they actually get off their planet and come looking for other people to say hello to. We've had that experience, and we've had it for decades. The trouble is that our good old government tends to cover it up. They don't want people to really know or think about visitors from other places. They figure we've got enough trouble people trying to get along with each other here on Earth without somebody from another planet who might not look very much like us coming into the scene. But actually, most people handle visits from the star visitors well enough. They may be a little startled, but they soon get the idea that they're not here to harm. So I think the government underestimates the people, as they so often do. But we are visited, it's real, and it's going to continue. The government is kind of a hypocrite in this department because very high level officers in the government have been visited and are visited currently. For example, I have a photograph of a Pleiadian star visitor, one from the Pleiades star system, which is the nearest star to us, come to Earth and come into the White House and talk to the president. This happened with all the way back to President Eisenhower, but it's happened with President Trump in both of his terms. I have a photograph of him in the Oval Office with a star visitor Pleiadian talking to him face to face, and he's handling it quite well.
Did they ask Trump? Did they ask Trump why he was so orange?
No, they didn't do that, I'm sure.
Yes.
They have very good manners. And he didn't look particularly orange in the Oval Office. I think that's more TV makeup for when he's out in public, but he looked more natural there. But and he's not alone. The heads of the intelligence agencies and many upper level officials know that star visitors are real and that they're here and they visit people. But there's kind of an agreement to not talk about it. They underestimate the public. They think if there'll be a huge panic if the government admits that we're being visited by people from afar. I think the people can handle it. And I say that because I've talked to ever so many people who've been visited, and after they get over the initial shock and realize this stuff is real, they get kind of matter of fact about it. It's another fact of life, like many others. So once again, many of the people are ahead of their government. Can you imagine?
On your website, it discusses a 3-step plan for UFO and ET reality disclosures. What are those steps?
Well, give me a second here. I want to get to that page. Excuse me, my phone's acting up here. Well, I'll just have to do it from memory. The first step is they have a 3-step process of trying to make it very obvious they're here and kind of forcing the government's hand to admit that there are visitors, that they're not a threat, they're fine people, and they have important things to say, one of which is they request that we not blow ourselves up with nuclear warfare. So step number 1 is becoming perfectly obvious. And if you've noticed, there's been a lot more wave of UFO reports, UFOs buzzing airplanes coming into land, or UFOs over Washington, D.C., or over Langley Air Force Base, or other sensitive installations around our nuclear missile silos and other sensitive places. And they're kind of trying to force the government's hand because people say, well, some kind of security you have, you can't even stop these drones or whatever they are from being in places where they're not allowed to be. Well, it's an attempt to force the government to admit they're dealing with a superior technology from another planet, and trying to force them to admit that we're being visited by people from off Earth.
Do they plan on using media also to kind of present themselves, television or other media sources?
Oh, that's coming, yeah. Yeah, they're going to start to demonstrate themselves. And I think the timeline, as I understand it, and I'm using some of my starseed abilities to look at what's coming in the future, near future, is that before the end of the year, the indication I have is that one or more star people will present themselves on TV, either being interviewed on a program or a reporter on the street with a cameraman interviewing a star person standing on the street or some other public spot. And these folks will not be perfectly human looking. There are star races, at least 4 or 5 that I know of, that look perfectly human. In fact, I met one when I was giving a talk at a conference in Mount Shasta a week or so ago from Venus. There is a race that lives subsurface on Venus that looks perfectly human. They walk down the street, you wouldn't look twice, to look just as human as the next person. But there are races that are quite obviously different in look. And there's going to be some of those folks who cannot be mistaken for just another human being who will get on camera and be interviewed and make themselves seen on local or national television. And another step is to call for public recognition that they're here, setting up conferences where humans and star people get together and talk over things, and people begin to see that they're perfectly reasonable and that they have something important to say, and they're like our new neighbors we didn't know we had, but now that they're here, they make sense. So it's a process of a gradual acclimation, getting people used to the fact that ETs even exist, that they can make it all the way to Earth from planet they live on, and they make sense when they get here, and that they even have something useful for us to hear. That's the plan. And at that point, the government has no more basis for pretending there's no such things as extraterrestrials.
Have they appointed you as to any particular position as a representative of them?
Yes. I've been at this work for a long time and written 5 books on it and given hundreds of lectures around the country and other countries. And so I have a bit of a reputation, and the star people have noticed that, and they've decided that I would be a good pick for spokesman for planet Earth, since I understand them well and certain education and training that allows me to interact with them and present their case, if you will. So they've asked me to be counselor, as they call it, of Earth, representative of Earth. This is a two-way job. One of the parts of this job is that the Milky Way galaxy government is called star nations. All those planets that are inhabited by highly developed civilizations send one representative each to this council when there's time to talk about matters, setting policy for how things are going to be in our galaxy. And they've asked me to be Earth's representative when this council meets. The other side of the job is they've asked me to be spokesman for them when it comes time for them to make statements to the people of Earth about what they would like us to know about them, or what they have in mind that they would like us to give our 2 cents on. So it's a two-way job, spokesman for Earth to them and spokesman for them to Earth. And as ETs come out of the closet in the sense that the government cover-up comes to an end, I'll probably have more work to do. Right now, there's not that much because we're still dealing with a problem that the government won't admit that the ETs are real.
In your view, considering the alleged involvement with U.S. defense contractors in shooting down UFOs and back-engineered ET technology, as you described, what specific evidence or indicators would you suggest the public look for to verify these claims?
Well, that's a multi-level question. I mean, speaking from what I know, the fact that the U.S. is back engineering anti-gravity craft or UFOs has shot down enough of theirs to figure out enough of the technology to make copies good enough to get off the ground. But since all of that's classified, I can't wave that out as a proof. But slowly but surely, leaks are coming. Some of the UFO-oriented websites I go on are beginning to talk about whistleblowers who work within aerospace industries are beginning to talk publicly about that they've been working on back-engineered UFOs and making copycat anti-gravity craft. Companies like Lockheed Martin or Northrop. And I've done some field research. I've seen some of those copycat UFOs or anti-gravity craft lift off the ground and fly. I live near North Los Angeles, where it starts to become Mojave Desert, where Northrop has a plant in the side of Tehachapi Mountain. And I watched late at night one night when a test of one of their anti-gravity craft was going on. The craft sat on a platform sticking out of the side of the mountain, and then it powered up, and this is late at night, everything was black, but it developed a glow, and then a very strong glow, and then slowly started to lift off the ground, and then it lifted up higher and higher. And then it started going sideways off the side of this platform on the mountain out into the open air for maybe a quarter mile, and did a turn and another turn, and then slowly came back. This was a test flight, so the pilot of it, was taking it carefully. But I guess it worked well enough because he got back to the platform and stood there in the air and then slowly descended to the platform and then turned off the energy field and the light went out and everything was black again. So that's how far we've gotten along with copying this technology from people that the government won't admit even exist. But as usual, the aerospace people that are making trillions off of these advanced anti-gravity aerospace vehicles are ahead of the game. There is a kind of an arms race going on between the US and Russia and China. Russia and China also being advanced enough technically civilizations to have advanced aerospace technology and the ability to use directed energy weapons to disable UFOs, force them to land, and then capture the crew and tear them apart, figure out how they work, and try to make its own copy of them. So that's going on behind the scene in several places in the world. And all of this while the government's still feeding us publicly the line, well, we're not sure if there's anybody out there. There's some planets that are suitable for life, but we just don't know much more than that at this point. So the public's really being fed a ridiculously small part of the truth.
You created the Star Kids project. Are there any main goals of this project?
Well, I created the Star Kids project because nobody else was, and I was dealing with people who've been visited by star people, and their kids have been visited, and they and their kids have been modified genetically by these visits. And at the time, I was maybe the only psychologist in the Western United States that was dealing with this phenomenon. And they were glad to have somebody understand what was going on. So I started to communicate with other therapists in other parts of the country and internationally. And they were getting some patients come in too who were talking about their visits from star people and wondering whether they were crazy or whether this was real. And the therapists were able to tell them that this is real and help them adjust to it. And so we created Star Kids Project, which is working with parents of children who've been visited and altered, given advanced genes, and helping the parents understand why the kid is so bright, why they're so far ahead of everybody else, why they can do things like see what's going to happen in the future, why they can understand what an animal, their pet, is saying. These families needed some help and counseling to understand what was going on all around them. There's nothing in any child development book that talks about this stuff, but it's real, it's happening. And so my colleagues and I who have done counseling in this area were very happy to create a place where they could come and talk and know that they were going to be understood and not just thought that they were a wacko. So we created the Star Kids Project.
You've written about the importance of psychic shielding for the Star Kids and Star Seeds adult. What's the rationale behind the practice?
Well, shielding is one of the uses of energy, the kind of energy I'm talking about that has many possible uses. This energy field that can blow out a street light when you go walk underneath it, that's one form of the energy. The energy is able to do good, heal, and communicate. Persons can use this energy to reach out and see what somebody's doing halfway around the world, what they call psychic seeing. This may sound far out, but the CIA is spending lots of money trying to figure out how this works and to train people to do it because it makes a wonderful spy tool. They can go inside the Kremlin's innermost files and see what's in there, then That's something the CIA wants to do. That's espionage, but some more useful and more common applications are healing. Sometimes star seeds and star kids can use this energy to heal another person who needs healing, whether it's physical healing of an injury or emotional healing of trauma. So we try to teach the kids and the starseed adults how to do that and to feel that they're not just a freak, but they have gifts that are useful and they can help other people around them. And in their experience, after they do this, people are happy to have had that kind of assistance, even though it's not what is commonly talked about in society.
You've mentioned the star teachers returning to Earth. What's the significance of their presence, and how would their teaching impact humanity's spiritual evolution?
Well, this is an exciting part of near future history that is unfolding under our feet. Not only do we have a number of visitors from other planets coming to Earth, but we have certain star visitors who have figured very largely in our history as humans over the centuries that have decided to come back at this point in time because they want to gather as a small group and do some new good work. I'm talking about people like Krishna, who brought spiritual awareness to the early peoples in India, Buddha, who brought awareness of one God and the nature of that God to the peoples of Asia. He started out in Nepal and India, and it spread out from there to China and other places. I'm talking about Jesus, who needs no introduction. He is more than a outstanding human individual. He has a previous history, having lived on star Altair Aquala's planet, and that race looks just like humans, so he didn't have to even modify his appearance when he came to Earth, but he did an incarnation as a human being, decided to let himself be conceived and born inside of his mother Mary, who's another star person, and grow up in Nazareth, Galilee, Jerusalem area, Israel, Palestine. And he's coming back too, and so is his mother Mary. And Muhammad, a teacher for the peoples of the Arabian Peninsula and surrounding areas. All these people had to deal with people who thought there might be many gods, polytheism, worshiping idols and nature forces, and teach them, no, there's just one God. You can't make it statue because God's not a physical being, it's consciousness being. And they're going to come out of the closet, if you will, before this year is over, is my understanding. And they're going to do a fresh round of teaching. Krishna and Buddha taught thousands of years ago, but things have gotten messed up. In the centuries after they died, people took their teachings and added a little bit here and lopped off a little bit there. And it's not as pure as when they taught it. So they want to come back and give the real teachings without any messed up parts. And they want to prepare humankind for a makeover of society. Our society needs some work.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. We're not going to be able to do it just by voting properly. This requires making society shaped by a pure form of spiritual understanding that allows people to come up with right answers without having to go to school. And they want to get back to that. When Jesus did the Sermon on the Mount, it sounded very simple, but he had to operate in a land where there was a very elaborate, organized religion that told people how to do everything down to what kind of dishes to serve and what foods to eat and which ones not to eat, and all this gobbledygook of thousands of regulations. But that's not the kind of complicated religion these folks have come back to try to talk about. They want to keep things very simple. They're going to give some basic principles for value systems, if you will, for steering by, and let the people apply those to each situation as it comes along and develop their own answers and solutions. So this teaching is further complicated by the fact that because there's a UFO cover-up, it's going to be hard for people to take it seriously that they're back again and that reincarnation is real, and that they have to, the people are going to have to understand that how corrupt the religions they've been taught are, and that there's a lot of man-made foolishness in there that needs to get set aside and get down to the basics. And while I'm sure some people will find that a welcome message, there are some folks that are quite attached to the way things have been who may have a little bit of a time adjusting to the fact that it's really kind of simple when you get it right. Anyway, they've got their work cut out for them, but first of all, this UFO cover-up is complicating things because they're going to be talking about their nature as people who have lived off planet and one of their lifetimes came here to teach, but they do teaching other planets, and they're respected on their home worlds for their wisdom. And all of that sounds pretty exotic for people who've been told, for all we know, there's nothing but humans in the whole universe. That's how it was when we grew up. The scientists were saying, for all we know, we're it. So it's a big jump from that to people from other places coming here, visiting, teaching us, and trying to share their wisdom with us. But it's coming, and it's a big challenge, but it's an exciting time. And I, for one, am happy to be alive during this period. And I think when the teachers finish their work, that people will be very glad they came back and straightened things out.
Okay, sir. Since we started a little late, I'm behind on my breaks, but we'll go ahead and take the first break now. It's approximately 5 minutes, and then we'll be back, sir.
Okay, very good.
All through the night, I'll be awake and I'll be with you. All through the night, this precious time when time is new. All through the night today, knowing that we feel the same without saying. We have no past, we
This is Dark Matter News. I'm Joshua Stark. Earth will be spinning unexpectedly fast this summer, giving us a few days that are just a hair shorter than 24 hours. On July 9th, Earth's rotation sped up by approximately 1.3 milliseconds, making it one of the shortest days ever recorded. Even more surprising, similar dips are expected on July 22nd and August 5th, shaving off around 1.4 to 1.5 milliseconds each time. Although no human can perceive these tiny shifts, they matter for systems that count on ultra-precise timekeeping like GPS, satellites, telecommunication, and financial networks. That's why atomic clocks and the International Earth Rotation and Referencing Systems Service are watching closely and might even consider removing a leap second if Earth keeps running ahead. The causes are multifaceted. Seasonal changes in the atmosphere weaken high-altitude winds like the jet stream, transferring angular momentum to the planet. At the same time, the moon's orbit is tilted, and when it reaches extreme declinations like now, it nudges Earth to rotate faster. Scientists also suspect internal factors, movements in the Earth's core, shifts in ocean currents, melting ice, or atmospheric mass redistribution could contribute, although the exact drivers remain uncertain. This sudden acceleration doesn't indicate a long-term trend. Over geological timescales, Earth is actually slowing down as the moon gradually drifts away. Catch up with us any time of day at darkmatternews.com.
Hi, this is Jessica with C. Crane. Tired of spotty radio reception and static? C. Crane CC Wi-Fi 3 Internet Radio offers a crystal clear solution with audio guaranteed to outperform any smartphone speaker. With an internet connection, tune in to over 30,000 radio stations from around the world, all conveniently accessible without needing any apps, providing personal information, or additional monthly subscriptions. Enjoy complete privacy with no microphone or eavesdropping. The CC Wi-Fi 3 boasts a user-friendly interface with a full-sized remote for easy control. It also doubles as a Bluetooth speaker for your favorite music and podcasts. Ready to upgrade your listening experience? You can get the CC Wi-Fi 3 by calling C. Crane at 800-522-8863 or by visiting us online at ccrane.com. Once again, that's CCRANE.com.
Paranormal investigator Dan Rivera, 54, died suddenly on July 13th in his Gettysburg, Pennsylvania hotel room following a stop on the Devils on the Run tour featuring the infamous Annabelle doll. Rivera, an Army veteran and lead investigator at the New England Society for Psychic Research, was a protege of famed demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren. He had assured attendees that strict precautions were taken to keep the doll secure during events. Authorities ruled his death natural with no signs of foul play, but the timing has stirred renewed speculation about the doll's alleged curse. Rivera's colleagues, including well-known figures from paranormal TV shows, condemned such rumors, remembering him instead as a devoted husband, father, and passionate educator who brought integrity to his work. This is Dark Matter News.
Dr. Boylan, is there an agreement between all the different alien races on how everything should be handled between all the different cultures?
Yes, these principles are found across the universe. In fact, the intelligent civilizations out there have all agreed on these principles as encapsulating natural wisdom, if you will, and spiritual sensitivity in a way that they could be used as guideposts when you're making decisions in your life. There are universal principles and there are spiritual principles, which are kind of spiritual or intelligent human, if you will, application of those universal principles. Let me give you some examples. Free will is the first universal principle. It is absolutely foundational in a way that every civilization in the Milky Way galaxy honors the fact that free will has to be respected. Doesn't mean you can do anything you want, but it's a way of recognizing that a living, intelligent being, a human, for example, has the wherewithal, the intelligence, and the awareness to shape his or her own life, and ought to have the ability to make choices to do that. And the spiritual principle that is derived from that is human freedom. In other words, taking away a person's freedom is a violation of who they are as a living, intelligent being, and their freedom should be respected. That's why totalitarian governments or overly strict organizations that don't allow individuals to have any freedom that must follow exact lines of direction are not as respectful of human ability. Another basic universal principle is change. Change is normal. It's not a mistake or an accident or something to be afraid of. It's part of the natural flow of things. For example, evolution. An animal that looks like something in one century, several centuries down the line, might look a little different because change is going on. We see change all around us. And a spiritual application of that is human growth. We would be almost dead if we never changed, if we just stayed in one place and never did anything original or new or different. So human growth is a natural development of the basic principle of change. Another principle is movement with balance. Greek philosophers used to debate whether the basic nature of things was that everything stood still where it was, or whether the natural way of things is that things are in motion, are moving all the time. Well, the ETs have long since figured out that the universal principle is movement, that being frozen in place and never changing is not the way nature goes, and it would be an aberration to try and conduct life that way. One of the outflowings of this spiritual principle that goes with it is strength or health or happiness. These are all ways in which movement, adaptive change, and showing that's one alive. It's one's moving and growing and repairing the body. For example, if you get a cut, your body heals that up and smooths it out, makes it regular skin again. So movement is a natural part of nature. I'll skip down a bit. Life is a universal principle. Life is sacred. It is to be honored. When life occurs, there's an individual unit of being, be it plant, animal, mineral, well, not mineral, but or intelligent life, and that is to be respected. Life is a gift. The fact that a planet develops life is a gift. With life comes, because life for a human is like a living, intelligent being. And one of the things that humans do with their aliveness is make choices, shape their life one way or another, get married or not, develop a career, move or stay put, pick one job or another, have kids or not. These are all choices that come from the gift of life and applying it with one's mental ability in a thoughtful way. Nature is one of the fundamental principles. Nature is a word we use to encompass all of what is living. Otherwise, our planet would be a rocky ball, but is full of living organisms, bacteria, animals, plants, and intelligent life. Because nature in its aliveness reflects back on the creator as a product of the creator, it is to be revered. We have whole movements, ecology movements, that understand that nature is a precious part of our reality, that is a fundamental principle of aliveness, and that it deserves protection. Make a terrible example, a person would be completely out of order if they walked around spreading poison across fields or flower beds or elsewhere and causing massive death. Humans should be part of helping nature flourish and survive, because we are one. If there was not nature, we would all starve to death. We would run out of oxygen to breathe. So it's in our interest to respect that the rest of nature besides us, and we are part of nature too, is something that needs to be honored and protected when it comes to things that would harm nature. So we do things like put out forest fires or remove pollution sources so that nature is not poisoned. A principle that is really core is love. Love is one of the foundational principles of the universe. Not only do creatures that are intelligent and aware have intelligence and insight, but they can feel attraction and they act on that attraction, and that creates things like friendships or loving relationships, families, parent-child bonds, friendships. This is interconnection of intelligent living things at a high level. One of the properties of love is healing. Love has as one of its powers the ability to induce healing. People who are feeling sick when they get visited by a friendly visitor often feel themselves getting better. If they are mentally challenged, depressed, or otherwise in dire straits mentally, love can, in the form of a friendship or a therapist's interest, can help do the healing that is needed for that person to get better. One of the principles, universal principles I find most interesting is perception. It's a broad word. It has to do with sensing, seeing, feeling, hearing, tasting, smelling, picking up what's going on with something that isn't us but near us, and we pick up on it and perceive what it is, what it's doing, what it's sending out, how it feels. One of the high order uses of perception is to not only look around your environment and become quite familiar with your surroundings, but to move across time. And so one of the applications is to look into the future and see what's coming, and therefore allow yourself to intelligently prepare for that to the degree that you can, to the degree that your future sight goes. So these are some of the examples of universal principles and their application in spiritual life with spiritual principles. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. I'm curious, in your dealings with the star kids and star seeds, the belief in a creator, is that something solely with the human race, or do they also believe in a superior being that created them?
Oh, you asked the $64 question. Very good. Well, I'll just say this as an anthropologist and a psychologist and a philosophy of nature. With all the star people I've dealt with, I am not aware of any civilization that doesn't in some way understand God. But God is not necessarily a bearded guy in a white robe, as the cartoonists would make him or her. Their idea of God has to do more with invisible consciousness. And there's a kind of a mantra I've developed that defines God, if you will, in a way that all the intelligent civilizations out there could agree with. And it goes something like this: God is everywhere present, loving creator consciousness, continuously sustaining all creation in existence. When you understand God that way, it's easy to see that God is everywhere. God's the reason everything is in existence. And once you realize the reason creation exists at all is because of a creator, then you operate with that awareness. All civilizations of intelligent life from various planets all agree that God is not a individual walking around, but a pool of energetic consciousness that has creator properties and loving properties. And there's nowhere you can go that God is not there. So they agree on that much. And at that fundamental level, it's pretty hard to argue with that.
Yes, sir. I don't think I'd argue with it either. A question I ask most of my guests is, how do you reconcile the often skeptical and dismissive attitudes of mainstream science and media towards the topics that you research?
How do I justify it?
Yeah.
Well,
or how do you reconcile it? That should be the word I use.
Well, that's a better word. Well, I learned to live with a lot of things that aren't a lot of fun, but it's sort of like growth and change are principles of the universe, okay? And not everybody comes to the same level of awareness at the same time. There are people who, perhaps for no fault of their own, do not understand and see things the way I do, and I recognize that, and I make room for that. For example, a simple example, if you're dealing with a 2-year-old kid, you don't expect them to know their multiplication tables. That doesn't make them a bad kid. It's just where they are at. They have the capacity to grow and learn more, and as they learn more, they can see things more broadly, and that's the way I see it. Now, I don't just say that in a passive way as though, well, there's different strokes for different folks and everybody's at their own level of development. All that's true, but there's a certain, what shall we say, imperative or call for people who have a greater understanding of things to try to reach out and share that. It's like a gift of something that's precious to you that you want to share, and the person you want to share with may or may not take it, may not accept it. But if they do, they may find some benefit from your sharing. And those who do not accept and aren't ready for that, don't decide to take it on out of respect for their human worth, you let them be where they are and respect that that's where they are, and they're not dead yet. They may learn a thing or two more while they're still alive, and not get too hung up on the fact that they're not in the same place you are at this point in time.
I know science has the viewpoint. If you don't see it, smell it, taste it, hear it, and analyze it and experiment on it, it doesn't exist. I think that's the attitude that our science takes.
Well, that's kind of traditional science. However, modern science in some departments is way ahead of the game. They're acknowledging different dimensions. They're acknowledging time travel backwards and forwards and travel across great distances in an instant. The idea that everything has to fit into a test tube or else it's not real is kind of a primitive version of what science is about. Science is about discovering. That's what fundamentally science is. Science isn't a book full of answers that smart people have come up with over the centuries. That's part of science, but it's not the whole of science. Science is fundamentally about experiencing the world you're in and letting your curiosity and inquiry find out things, more things, and test things and learn new things. And people like you and I think have a natural, healthy curiosity, find that pleasant and refreshing and even interesting. So thank God all of science is not something that you could find in a 1900 science book, because we're creatures that keep growing and learning more. Science develops with us and our understanding develops with us. And so we will never come to the end of science because you never stop learning and understanding if you set about looking around you and asking good questions and letting your curiosity take you to new areas.
I think we're definitely in our infancy as far as science and understanding are concerned. I hope we progress farther than we are now.
Oh, yes. Well, give it time. And what we've called science may find that is gradually becoming a hybrid. Some people are creating a hybrid of science and art, or science and mental applications, consciousness, interdimensional realities challenge conventional understanding. They use the term quantum science for new frontiers of our understanding of how things work and are assembled and put together. So in a way, it's refreshing and fun. Nobody has all the answers, and we're not done discovering. And maybe that's how it's intended to be.
What advice would you give an individuals who believe they've had a close encounter with extraterrestrials, and how can they navigate the challenges and opportunities that come with such experiences?
Well, my approach with people who've had ET encounters is respectful, and I try and assess where they are in the experience. Are they still in the shock level, or have they settled down into it, and whether they discovered so far, and think there's something I've found out about that I could share with them that would be useful to them. I do that. It's respectful of the fact that this is a growing body of knowledge. Nobody knows everything about extraterrestrial encounters. Some people know more than others, and it's complicated by the fact that there's an active program to try and say all of this is not real, and if you think it's real, you're crazy. So that doesn't help, but we have to get past that. So there's a lot of work cut out. But if we take a respectful, gradual approach to life and keep our awareness up and look for opportunities to understand more ourselves and to share what we understand with others, then society can move forward.
I agree, sir. We're down at the bottom of the hour. We'll take a next break. It's also 5 minutes long, and then we'll come back and see if you have any insights you wanted to share other than the questions that I've posed to you.
All righty, I'll take this break and I'll see you in 5.
Scientists have unveiled a groundbreaking blood test that estimates the biological age of individual organs, and the results are revealing. By analyzing thousands of organ-specific proteins in the blood, researchers assessed the biological age of 11 organs, from the brain and heart to the liver, kidneys, lungs, muscles, arteries, immune system, fat, intestine, and pancreas. Their findings indicate that organs age at different rates, and these variations can influence our health risks long before traditional symptoms appear. The brain emerged as the most powerful predictor of future health. Individuals whose brains appeared biologically older than their chronological age were 12 times more likely to develop Alzheimer's and faced a 182% higher risk of death over the next 15 years. A younger-looking brain, on the other hand, correlated with significantly lower mortality and disease risk. The immune system was the second most critical factor, with its biological age further refining predictions of longevity. Beyond the brain and immunity, specific organ age gaps aligned with related diseases, accelerated kidney aging linked to diabetes and hypertension, older hearts to heart attacks and atrial fibrillation, and aging muscles to mobility issues. Overall, about 1 in 5 individuals had at least one organ aging faster than expected, and those with multiple accelerated organs showed higher disease rates. That's it for Dark Matter News. Catch up with us on the Midnight Frequency Facebook page. From Memphis, Tennessee, I'm Joshua Stark.
The CC Skywave SSB-2 is the Swiss Army knife of portable radio. The Skywave SSB-2 has a wide and accurate band coverage in a small size, which makes it an excellent travel and emergency radio. Single sideband is a reliable way to get long-range information after a natural disaster such as an earthquake or a hurricane when normal communications are down. The single sideband tuning is accurate to 10 Hz resolution. It also covers civilian aviation VHF with 10 aviation memories that can continuously scan for activity. It also covers the AM, FM, and weather alert. The Skywave SSB-2 has several improvements. The new shortwave antenna jack can significantly improve shortwave reception when used with an external antenna. The new micro USB connector now works well from any USB port, along with improved in-circuit battery charging for optimal nickel metal hydride rechargeable batteries. Other upgrades include a higher quality speaker along with slightly more audio amplification, longer feet on the bottom of the radio for better stability. To get your CC Skywave SSB-2, you can call 1-800-522-8863. Once again, that's 1-800-522-8863. Or you can also go to ccrane.com. That's CCRANE.com.
I've been drifting on the sea of heartbreak, trying to get myself ashore for so long, for so long. Listening to the strangest stories, wondering where it all went wrong for so long, for so long. But hold on, hold on, hold on to what you got.
Okay, we're back with Dr. Richard Boylan. Sir, are there any things that you would like to bring up for the listening audience tonight that we haven't already covered?
Well, why don't you pull back a little and do kind of a big picture thing here? We've been dealing with, some very good questions about aspects of this phenomenon. But let me come at it from maybe a bigger picture and more holistic kind of a way of talking about what's going on.
That works for me.
Good, good. I mean, it's hard not to get excited. Of all the centuries and millennia of human existence, we're in a very apex moment. We're about to become cosmic aware in a way that is profound. It doesn't mean just some of our better scientists look into a telescope and see out there and see new stars and new planets. I mean cosmic in a much more holistic way. By that I mean understanding the cosmos as not just an assemblage of molecules and stars and planets, asteroids, moons, some of which have life on them, but that the cosmos itself is aware, is in a way of speaking alive, in a way of speaking the cosmos is conscious. I had an opportunity to take a sneak peek at a document that some of the better scientists at the Vatican are working on, a new theology, they call it, and it's a humdinger. One of the statements they come up with is that not only are humans aware, alive and conscious, but so is Mother Earth, and so are the web of life. Some of our more advanced scientists are even now starting to talk about animals having consciousness, plant life, like forests having consciousness, individual trees, and then communities of trees having a pooled consciousness, that kind of stuff. Same with sea life, same with airborne life, birds, and so forth. And going beyond Earth, that stars have consciousness. And so what Darth Vader did in Star Wars, use a Death Star ray energy ray to destroy a whole star, would be a monstrous act of murder, not just a desecration of a astronomical body, but killing a living conscious thing. It may not have arms and legs and flesh like we do, but consciousness has shown itself to be able to operate in various media, if you will, and the energetic form of stars and of planets are two of the places where consciousness develops. And of course, the whole cosmos itself, as the sum of all of this, is conscious in a collective way. And so that's a big pill to swallow. And you won't see that in most textbooks these days, but it's true. Some of our best minds understand that to be true. And we may come to the point where we hear that talked to as reality by leading scientists or even leading church people, theologians, pastors in sermons. And that's not just a wonder, but certainly is that, but it's an opportunity for us to understand our place in the universe in a deeper and more enriched way, because we're not detached from this phenomenon. It's true, we don't live on other planets. We aren't circling around other stars, but the fact that they're conscious and aware in their own way, means we've got a much larger family of life and consciousness out there than we thought we did. It's not just 5 or 6 foot tall people who don't look like us running around in flying saucers. Yeah, that's certainly true, and that's certainly a form of life in the cosmos, but it's not all of it. And when we understand life at that level, that anything that is sentient, that it can feel and is aware and can react to its environment, think at various levels of sophistication, that's alive, that it's to be respected, that it's a fellow intelligent life form. It's a much richer and more pleasantly complicated web of life we live in than we've been taught before. As that consciousness comes about, and I'm racing over things that may take decades or maybe centuries to become accepted truth in every corner of our world. But as that comes about, I think we will have a new kind of society where we don't just trip over ourselves trying to race and discover a new planet or land an exploratory rocket on a fresh moon, but we understand that we are dealing with conscious life forms and that they are to be respected in their own way, and that they are part of our extended definition of what the family of intelligent life is. And so this can be humbling when you come to that kind of an awareness, but it's also comforting that we're not so alone as we thought we were, just an inhabited planet spinning around in an empty vacuum of infinite space. It's much more inhabited and connected than we thought before was the case. So we've got a ways to go in finding our full place in this wonderful universe. And I'm down for the adventure.
I agree with you there. We don't always understand what our actions can do. Like you say, the destruction of one thing, no matter how minute, has a ripple effect to everything around it.
Yes, some of the philosophers, I think the Buddhist philosophy teaches that you cannot change anything in front of you without it interacting at some level in some way with everything else in the universe. So that's humbling, and it makes us more sensitive, helps us guide our decisions.
Would you like to tell the listeners about any books or where they can find out more about Star Kids and Star Adults?
Yes, thank you for reminding me. I need to do that. I have several books. My latest book is The Human Star Nations Connection. This is my 5th book, and it kind of summarizes everything I've written before, and it brings it up to speed with where we're going as the UFO cover-up falls apart and we start to realize we're part of a very richly populated universe of intelligent life. The subtitle of this book is Key to History, Current Secrets, and Our Near Future. So it takes us all the way from before we understood modern UFO reality to a thorough laying out of what's true with our current understanding of UFO and ET reality and where we are headed in our near future. The Human Star Nations Connection is available at Amazon.com. And there are a couple of other books I could speak to. My earliest books are interesting, but I think Star Kids, The Emerging Cosmic Generation is a book that any starseed adult or star kid ought to read. It deals very thoroughly with everything about star kids, how they come to be, what their abilities are, where all of this is headed. So that book is Star Kids, The Emerging Cosmic Generation. There's a fun book I wrote, the only fiction book I wrote, Project Epiphany. Talks about a scientist who trying to catch up with a landing of space people. That is, he finds out ahead of time is going to happen, and all the obstacles that get thrown in his way by the people behind the UFO cover-up. So that's kind of a fun read, and it's educational in its own way. That one's called Project Epiphany. My first book was Extraterrestrial Contact and Human Responses. That was my write-up of what I learned from working with the people who came to me to talk about their extraterrestrial encounters they had in their house. And it's fascinating to kind of see them unfold their awareness as they deal with it. Another book of mine was Close Extraterrestrial Encounters, Positive Experiences with Mysterious Visitors. That was my book where I tried to emphasize that all the scare stuff that the government agents were trying to foist on people, that they should be afraid if an ET ever comes around, run the other way because you don't know what they're up to. It was an attempt to lay out that all the experiences, the actual people who had actual contact with them, everyone down to the last person felt the experience had been positive and growthful for them. So those are my 5 books, and they're all available on Amazon. If you go to Dr. Richard Boylan on Amazon and ask for the books he wrote, that they'll pop up, and if any of those appeal to you, I recommend you take a look.
You also have a website, is that correct?
I do. It's a humdinger, and if I do say so. drboylan.com, www.drboylan.com. If you read this, I will say something here. It's a mouthful, but I'll say it anyway. If you read this website from one end to the other, and it's got plenty in it, it'll take you a while. You will know more about UFOs, about ETs, and about star kids and star seeds than most scientists in our world. What we've been talking about tonight, it's very thorough. You'll also see 27 pictures of real ETs, most of them photographs. A few are very carefully done, accurate drawings, but most of them are actual photographs of living star persons. And you'll see some photographs of actual UFOs, both the usual disc type and cylinder type, and even wedge shape. So there's a lot there. When you finish this website, you can consider yourself one of the most informed people on extraterrestrials and UFOs and where all this is headed in your circle of acquaintances. I say that with all sincerity. I know it sounds kind of boastful, but I think it's true.
Well, I've been there, and I would definitely agree to what you just said. And of course, I used a lot of the information there for the research I did on making the questions. But I booked you a couple of months ago, and I never did finish the site yet. So it's a lot of information there.
Yeah, well, wait for a rainy day. I'll keep you company.
Do you have any talks or lectures coming up you'd like to mention?
Well, I just did one at Mount Shasta. I don't have any other lectures at the moment. I have another interview. It's going to happen in a couple of weeks. You don't want to give your rivals any free publicity, but
I don't mind. You're welcome to do so.
well, I can't find it right at the moment here, but here's something people can do if they want to get on my mailing list for future announcements. When I announce things like where I'm going to give a talk or so forth, if they want to go to my email, which is drboylan.com, drboylan.com, and send me your name and email address and that you want to be on my mailing list for informations, I'll add you, and then you can get informed as things develop and you get the news. I'm also on Facebook. If you go to Facebook/Dr. Richard Boylan, DRBOYLAN, Dr. Richard Boylan, then you can go to my Facebook page, homepage there, and that's another place I post things that are happening, and you can go to that and see what the latest is. I'm also on Reddit.com, kind of UFO oriented chat line, and I'm there too.
Well, sir,
I want to take
it's
a moment, Carl, to speak to you about my appreciation for your getting into this subject that some people wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, but you're a brave soul and inquiring mind. And so I want to honor that and thank you for having me on and for doing what you do.
well, I'm open-minded and I'm always curious. So I hope those are good traits to have.
They are indeed.
But thank you, sir. I appreciate you being on the show, and perhaps in the future we can have you back if you have something else you'd like to bring to the audience.
Okay, well, thank you. I've enjoyed talking with you, and you had some very good questions, and it's been a pleasure going through this stuff with you, and I hope everybody listening gets some benefit from it.
Thank you, sir. I'll be in touch via email, and
Okay, well, have a good evening and pleasure talking with you.
thank you, sir. You too. Enjoy your evening.
You bet. Bye-bye.